Good afternoon, it's Joyful Hermit. I want to talk today about a little bit of this and that, but mostly about adding a fourth word. The Lord has added a fourth word onto my love, pray, forgive. And this past Sunday morning, He added the word live. And this is because He wants me to live my life. I have been dealing with relationships for quite some time. And in fact, those with some that are very, very close to me, of course, my adult children. And they grew up loving me. I was their sole parent for the girls from when they were 6 and 8 on, and actually 7 and 5 because their father left to go to a new job in a different location, and we didn't have our house sold, and he didn't want to try to rent it, wanted me to stay with the children. And of course, as things unfolded, that was because he had been living a double or multiple lives all during our marriage. So for um, 10 months, he was gone, or it was 9 months, he was gone, and would come home on weekends, and then that gradually became every other weekend, and then maybe once or twice in 5 weeks or something. So, and the youngest was just 3 months old when he left for his new job, if that, even maybe 2.5 months old. So, anyway, and then we spent 4 months with him until the accident. And then 3 weeks after the accident, he came home and wanted to say he didn't want to be married anymore. It was a tremendous shock and very traumatic, and all of finding out more truth about him. And then with a narcissistic sociopath, which is what he is and was diagnosed by some psychologist who had to meet with him at one point, not to his liking, but anyway, and he probably doesn't know that's what he is, but that's what they told me that he is. And then you read about it, and of course I recognized immediately that was his personality disorder, and it's a bad one. But if you stop playing the game with them and see through them, and they know it, they turn on the person. So it's been very hard all through the children's life with me. He would really did some terrible things, or would hire people to do bad things. So a judge did let us leave and move 2,200 miles away after about 6 years. So in 1990, I was able to move with the children back to my hometown in a Midwest state. But that didn't stop his vow that he was going to destroy me. So he's worked on that. And so there have been, as the kids are now adults and all have excellent careers and really wonderful careers, amazing ones that, very much gifts from God. And and my life just has continued with suffering. But of course, by the time the kids each turned about 10, 11, in that age range, one by one, I remember one in particular coming home from school. Mom, you're not like other mothers. You're different. And it didn't bother them too terribly, but as adults, it does more. And they're out in the world, and they're out in the in society. And society doesn't like people who are close to God, or love God a lot. God isn't popular. We all know that in the overall realm of society. We all love God, and are close to God, but um, even those in churches oftentimes will be a more temporal religious rather than deeply spiritual religious, or as focused as we all might be. in the spiritual life. So there's a lot of variety there, but various careers in different locations of the country, even. People practically have to be a little careful if they're employed. And so it's a shame, that's how it is, but that's society. And there's also a trend now in society that I was unaware, but a psychologist friend told me, yes, it is a trend. And I've read about it now online and have followed along with people writing in about it happening to them. And it's happened to me, where adult children will estrange themselves from their parents, particularly mothers, particularly single mothers. So it happens, and it's generally has happened to me. One adult child is cut off totally, but he's also cut away from God and very much blames me for Catholicism in his life and etc. So, and then the others is just more of an estrangement, and maybe due to the suffering they grew up with. I had tremendous suffering, and when we did move back to the Midwest state, I couldn't get pain medicines there, and it was I had tremendous suffering unmedicated. So, and the children grew up taking care of me in a way, in a sense, when they needed me to be taking care of them. Children of divorce, and some very bad things happened to them by their father, particularly two of them, and of which they have blacked out the bad things. All of them have blacked out pretty much the bad things. So now their perception is they see him. He remarried eventually, and he's maybe 74 now, and I think has stopped womanizing. Who knows? But I think so by now. But he still is a narcopath, a narcissistic sociopath. So he lies and makes promises that he doesn't keep. He's not religious at all. Of course, with me, he was. With me, he made up things and said he was, but he wasn't, as it turned out. As soon as he left, he never walked into a church again. So, and despises that aspect of life. So, of Catholicism, definitely he hates, and I think he has influenced the son, who has aligned with his dad. And the daughters, I think he's very successful, and he's intelligent. He's very charming, he's very smooth, and he can be the life of a party. So his stepchildren have nothing to do with him, and I think they realize that, but he's their dad. And they wanted a dad, they missed a dad. And so I think as adults, they think, well, how could he have been so bad? How can he be so bad if he's so successful? So that's just how it is. And with me, of course, I'm the epitome of non-success. I've been called a lightning rod for trouble by many people. I have awful things happen to me. My life has not been easy. I've had 14 surgeries since I was age 20, and 11 of the 14 turned out badly. So that's me. I had to have a colonoscopy yesterday, and I told the doctor ahead of time, I said, well, good luck to you. I told him my statistics, and he says, well, this isn't really a surgery. And I said, well, I'm still saying good luck. Because if something can go wrong, it tends to go wrong, but everything went fine. Anyway, so that has been some of my relational agonies. I love my children. When I became a hermit, those were the three that I said, I will always be for you. I will be here for you. And God wouldn't want me to not be there for them or for grandchildren. But it's turned out that the relationships are distanced. They're distanced. And uh, they know that I'm different, that I'm a mystic, but they, as adults, they are convinced that other people can tell. That, and they're very aware of, and I don't want to say insecure, they're not, but aware of society not liking different, especially in their careers. Different is not good. One of them's being persecuted terribly for age and not fitting a certain personality or something or look that this one career wants to promote, or something of youth. And she's modest and sensible and very intelligent, and not she's classy and not loud, not crazy acting out there, drawing attention. So um, I guess that's more what they want, is more of that. So and she's going to be herself. She knows you can't be, and she knows that of me, that I can't just change how I am. And I have had in life times where people have perceived me, that something's different or unique about me, but they can't pinpoint it. And others, though, have really turned on me without even knowing me. So, and or just know me a little and really turned on me. And I had that in parishes where, and especially when any mystical experience would occur, that they would notice. That became just awful, an awful situation. But I've read enough about the lives of mystics that even their families have trouble coping with a parent who's a mystic, or a brother and sister who's a mystic. So, and my kids don't have that as a religious thing because they're not Catholic. The one isn't anymore. But one of them understood it more. The other one is just sensitive and is very uneasy with anything of the supernatural, anything of the other side of the abnormal, atypical. She has a fear of it, in essence, very uncomfortable with it. So, but I think the situations I get myself into, because I don't think in terms of the regular world, the decisions I make, such as I tried to be very practical, thinking to get into this house that needed updating, but it wasn't a tear down by any means. But then, boom, boom, boom. Within 2 months, I find out I have arachnoiditis and needed a massive, very strategic spine surgery with a year recovery for that. And who knows what the outcome was going to be. And then I've had 4 other surgeries in the 4 years, 5 total in 4 years. And the knee surgery then didn't turn out. My pump surgery created eating problems for me. So the only one that turned out was my little hand surgery. I had a previous knee surgery that was a failure. Um, I, in the terms of the world, I don't have good luck. In the spiritual world, I'm being tested by God and pounded on by the devil. So that's where that lays. But um, my relationships with my children now are painfully estranged. I call it what it is. It's rejection. But they love me. But it's still, that's how it is. And I kept trying and trying and trying. And over the past 6 weeks or so, these words have come to me on Sundays, usually Sunday mornings. First, it was pray, just keep praying for them and for other people, but I don't have much connection with people, being a hermit, and with my physical issues. And God also has cut relationships away. Although the friend who had thought I'm demonically oppressed has reconnected in friendship, so that's good. And she's a very spiritual and very wonderful person. She's more in the temporal aspects of the church, but that's okay. I understand that. I'm very accommodating of that. But I pray that people don't stay stuck in the temporal. It's a progression. Move on through the temporal into the spiritual. So, no matter what church you're in. Anyway, the next word was love. And that has now been reversed. I realize that love is really comes first. But to love unconditionally. So, love, pray. Then it was about 3 weeks more. And things still weren't going well at all with me mostly, and just grieving, terribly grieving. And my mind was consumed with what can I do? I just miss the closeness and knowing that my children don't appreciate me and aren't comfortable with me and don't enjoy me. So then came forgive, and that was a big one. That really broke through to me in a big, big way. How crucial is forgiveness. So love, pray, and forgive. And then maybe it's been 2 weeks since then, or maybe 3 now. This last Sunday came live. And I started sort of mentally asking, live, what is that, live? Yeah, I'm living and it's miserable, I wish I were dead. I wish I could be with my family and loved ones and Padre Pio and Father Fahey, my old spiritual Don, some cousins that have passed on and friends and people who loved me, found me funny, didn't think I was different, or if I was, they loved how I was and appreciated me and were supportive of me. And I would just love to be with people who like me and who enjoy me, because I enjoy people. I love people. So, and I love you guys. I love the comments. You have lifted me up so much. I think here's some people who get it, who aren't bothered by me, or if they are, they click off or they unsubscribe or whatever. But then God just started. The thoughts start coming in, and it's if you to get you all, if you think, well, how does God talk to us? Well, it's through maybe a word or something that comes to us that we didn't think of, that you start to discern, and you realize, I didn't think of that. And you wonder, what does that mean? And then you sort of mentally start exploring it a little bit and ask, well, Lord, tell me, what does that mean? And then more thoughts come in, or Holy Spirit, or angel, or whoever you felt that the voice came from, or the word came, or the thought came, or the image, or whatever. And so then I started getting this, no, you live. You live your life now. You live your life. And I realized I had been so trying to reach out to my adult children, to my grandchildren, wanting them to respond or to talk or to call or fill me in on their lives or share their lives, and they wouldn't respond, wouldn't text back, or if they did, the one who used to be closer most recently has just gone cold. Will answer a question or something like that, but rarely will open up about anything. And then I guess if I don't quite go right along or something, then it feels that I don't understand when I do. But I have a different perspective, being older, and I've had a teenage son, for example. And I also have all the added years of God working with me in spiritual ways. And I know that the devil can work on teens and cause teens to act in ways that we don't want and we worry. But we have to do as we know how to deal with the devil. You ignore at times, you pray all the more, or you learn to laugh certain things off. The devil doesn't like to be laughed at. You do whatever is going to get the devil to get the idea, bug off. And you don't let the teen know he's getting to you or controlling your emotions in your life. You keep even and you keep plowing through. Because even if the teen doesn't pull around, the parent still has to live and survive and earn a living and can't just fall apart. You've got to stay strong. And so anyway, that was sort of going on in the midst of all this. And I realized, no, I hadn't been living my life. I'd been partially trying to live so that I could be accepted and be for them and be in their lives. And I realized it isn't working and it's not going to work. And the more I was doing that, the more miserable, the more down, the more despairing. And then on top of all this added knee pain that is a sickening pain, and trying to cope with my back that's worse because I'm in bed so much more because of the knee, the leg, the whole leg gets involved in throbbing and stuff. So it wasn't going well for me, not spiritually at all either. I was just distracting myself with the most stupid things. And so live my life. And I've started, it's not easy to break off my habits of distraction or to get up and to see the mess around me that I'm in this house that needs my manual labor, and I can't do it very well or at all. But I have clutter around, I have mess. And I thought just a little bit each day, even. Just try to do a little. And take care of the two puppies that, well, they're not puppies. One's 1.5 years and the other one's 2 now. But that God so graciously gave me as a means to force me up out of bed in the morning. And yes, they do that. And I have to feed them. I have to get up. I have to move around. I limp, whatever. We make it happen. I take them out on their leashes and back in. I can't take them for walks now. But they're adapting. And I look at these two innocent creatures who love me and accept me as I am. and I think God gave these creatures to me to show me how to adapt even. They have adapted to this new way of our existence. They're not even going to the dog park. I haven't gone there. I don't want to get knocked by dogs. And that has happened to me there before. And I don't want my knee worse than what it is. So, and I'm exhausted too. I'm very fatigued by all this pain. So they've adapted to being like I am. And they're very happy. And that's what I need to be. And they're living their lives. They're not trying to be me. So, live was a very important word. I have no idea if there's going to be more words. But this live is so life altering for me that it's taking me a little bit to get into the flow of it. And so I noticed today is a feast day in the Catholic Church of Peter of Alcantara. He's Spanish, and I immediately recognized the name because I'm a fan of Teresa of Avila. And I've read a lot of other books, and I try to get books that are even the out-of-print ones. The big fat ones that you can find them online or in used bookstores usually, but that I can get into the nitty-gritty, or in the reprints of these different people's letters that they wrote. That's when you really get to know them, because they're not writing their own biography or autobiography, and no one's writing a biography of them, trying to keep them in a certain image. When they write their letters, they let it out. They are themselves, and they become so human, and it's you get all the hagiography, all the built up hype of sainthood that other people ascribe to these real people who lived and who were oddballs too. Not really. I mean, we're not, but they had a different perspective. They had more of God's view, the mystical view, rather than the temporal view. And they were born that way. And they had a great love of God, or a sense of if they were hermits, that of satisfaction with that, of acceptance that God had called them to that kind of a life. And and of course that life is perceived as somebody who's different, and in our times it's oftentimes confused with being a recluse. Or if you're a Catholic and a hermit, then they have all these different ideas of what a hermit is supposed to be. And if you're not in that view, then that sort of throws them off. But anyway, Peter of Alcantara he was a spiritual director of Teresa of Avila. And he wrote this little book. It's called A Golden Treatise of Mental Prayer. So it's just a little book here. I happen to have it on my shelf. And it helps in teaching us how to pray deeper for those who want mental prayer. So, and different tips on that. So if you ever come across this little book by Peter of Alcantara. But when we realize that these people who lived in other centuries, mystics or people deeply spiritual, deeply religious, that they had spiritual guides, spiritual directors who helped them along. So if you can get a hold of some of the books written by the spiritual guides of these very spiritual people, it's really just a blessing to read about them, to read their thoughts, and to learn from them, no matter what century they lived in. And I like to read the older ones because I feel like with myself, take me with a grain of salt. I'm still learning. I just learned Sunday live to move on from trying to live other people's lives, or to live a life that other people expected of me, to that they would enjoy more of me, when I've tried and tried a good grief. I'm 72 and a half years old today, in fact, and I can't be what I'm not. I'm sorry. And I wish I've spent a lifetime certainly trying, even with clothing, makeup, hair, whatever, trying to fit in. And God says, live who you are. And more so, I've been praying this throughout, since Sunday especially. God, how do you want me to live? I'm old, I'm maimed, I'm in pain. I've got a mess on my hands here temporarily. Finances, not good, but got a roof over my head and I'm making it. Not high on the hog, obviously. And as a hermit, if I did have money, I would like to be donating and helping. Um, Actually, Father Vincent over in Nigeria, I used to like to send him money to help people who needed surgeries there, or other people who needed help, because my money here went so much further in Nigeria. But I just can't do it right now. I have to pay my bills. So anyway, consider this in your lives if you're in my spot, or if you get to my point where God is trying to help you get through a spot with your relationships, or with yourself even, of what does God want more of me or next? Not even connected with other people or with what you used to do, but God, how do you want me to live my life now? What do you want of me? And he'll tell you. He's telling me, remind yourself that you're a victim soul. Repeat your consecration more, if that will help to remind me. And to focus on people that I can offer my prayers for and my suffering for. So, and also not be thrown off by increased suffering. So anyway, I have a real quick situation to stress, and that's somebody who also has a failed knee surgery. 4 years ago has had two more surgeries trying to get it fixed, and isn't handling it well, and is not a religious type person, not turning to God with the problem. But pray for this person, because the person wants it fixed. The person's a year older than I am. Was wonderful until age 69 when the knee surgery failed on her, and has had two more plus another anesthetic under anesthetic manipulation, and isn't doing the stretches and what have you, and isn't accepting living with it as it is, and is very, very miserable, very depressed. Pray for this person, because sometimes we have to accept and also be grateful, like this person, that she had 69 years of incredible health and physical activity and monetary wealth, and still has monetary wealth. So, and be grateful that a lot of people don't live past 65. So be grateful you didn't get slammed with bad pain until you're 69. I was 33. When I was 33, I thought about children who are born with horrible ailments, or children who are 12 and become paralyzed or lose a leg, or, there's always, not that we want to think, wow, I'm glad I'm not that person, but it puts it in perspective that there's suffering out there. And I'm grateful to have a bed, that I can sleep in a bed. I went for several years, I had to sleep on the floor because of my spine. But the spine surgery 4 years ago was successful, thanks be to God. And I still have all this pain, and I still have arachnoiditis. Nothing I can do about that. No one can do anything about that, but a miracle from God. But I can now sleep on a bed, which is a blessing. It's nice. A lot of people in the world don't have beds. God bless His real presence in us. And let us love as God loves. Love, pray, forgive, and live our lives as God wants us to.